when I think about it in terms of church and the way it impacts different members within our body, I mean, I think that, Dave Ramsey is fine, but I think it does go back to the tailored approach and then the accessibility. There's this accessibility that I think even piping it in, from a different campus and it being streamed in on a Wednesday night, I think there's an accessibility that the people in our body feel that they have to you, and that's an appealing thing as opposed to reading a book, or it's not somebody who they have no access to. So I think that's probably a big thing for us.
I think Finance in 5 does a few key things that I think is beneficial for all believers. First and foremost, I think it generates confidence in the believer. I think it teaches them the difference between ownership and stewardship, which I think is critical in this hour. The Bible talks about finances all the time. This gives the believer the framework they need to be successful and to see not just their personal lives or their salvation one, but to see the reflection of that pass all the way through their life, not just in their day-to-day decision making, but how they spend their money, how they give, how they steward. All those things make a big difference. I think Finance in 5 does a good job teaching that. Historically, people who come to church usually have a poor understanding of what it means to be able to give, and they think oftentimes that the church is just after their money. So I think that having a course like Finance in 5 will help reframe, because it's not just coming at it from like, let me fix your finances. It's let me show you, like, from a biblical point of view, like why it's important for your finances to be in order, so you can create that margin, so you can be generous on every occasion, and so you can be faithful to what God's Word says. So I think that Finance in 5 is a perfect model for the local church to adopt and to implement right now, especially in these days and times.
And I would just say that there's probably a generation growing up that doesn't have an understanding on how to even operate their finances. So you're doing a good job at pairing the biblical context, but also like kind of back to like what we were saying earlier, like the whole person. Like you can be more successful, you can make more margin, you can do certain things so that you don't have a poverty mindset or a lack mindset, but that no, the Lord is provided. He is our provider. He's given us the skills and the gifts to work. So what does that produce? And then what that produces is what and how we give. It's all like almost like the cycle of life, right? Yeah. But how do we actively participate in it so that it's effective the way that God intended it to be?
Every believer's got to wrestle this for themselves at some point. Where am I putting my investment? Where am I putting my time, my talent, my treasure? And when you understand how to prioritize that biblically, you start to realize there's a commanded blessing on when we give and we serve and we love and we steward well the resources God's put in our life. To try to avoid that and try to live life separate from that management piece of your money. It's not just your salvation. It's all of the resources that come into your hands. And so how you use that, how you submit that to the lordship of Christ, well, those things matter. And they become doable, not in your flesh anymore, but by the Spirit. And He gives you wisdom, insight, and direction on those things. And Finance in 5 helps us put that in frame.
Finance in 5, again, it provides that perfect model to show even a seasoned believer. I've got a friend of mine who is a Dave Ramsey guy. I mean, matter of fact, he's the facilitator for the Finance in 5 at our campus. And he and I have talked, and he's got more questions I think he'd like to ask. So again, I think that regardless of how long you've been in church, Finance in 5 is a fresh take on foundational tenets of the Christian faith.